Hi, welcome to the newest episode of Sports Talk Central. I'm your host, Adeep Mahmood, with my normal co-host Hunter. And today we're going to be talking a lot about some MLB news that has come up recently, in a historic no-hitter. And then we're going to recap some of the Ravens and Steelers draft class. So let's first start with some of the breaking news from yesterday, which is Albert Pujols being DFA'd. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
It's kind of shitty that they did it in the last year of his contract. No, I mean, I think he should have been able to finish his career there. Now I kind of want him to go back to St. Louis and just do a coup d'etat, I guess is the right way to say it. But I did feel bad for him. I know he's not, the player that he once was, but to be DFA'd in your last year of your contract, even when the team is not very good, is still kind of shitty in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, my first thought was, it's sad because Albert Pujols, when he was with the Cardinals, was really good.
Oh yeah,
but then he signs I think him, Cano, and some other players as well. Like they are the example of don't give a guy a 10-year contract, because that's what he's more. I guess unfortunately that's what he's going to be known for a lot of, which is the poster boy for for his bad why he shouldn't give long contracts. I think it is bad. It's disservice to him. He definitely deserved what Jeter got, which was like the farewell tour.
yeah.
Of his presence. And he's already said this was going to be his last year anyway. So I mean, why not just you're gonna have to pay him anyway, so we'll just keep him.
Yeah.
And then which kind of goes to the question. There's two other contracts. The Orioles aren't going to just DFA Chris Davis, but and I want to hear you. We'll give you. I'll put up details on this guy's contract. But what are your thoughts on potentially the Tigers doing this with Miguel Cabrera?
I don't think they would, just because he's just as well known as Pujols was, for St. Louis as he is for Detroit. I mean, obviously Miguel Cabrera is not what he once was, but I mean, I think he's still a decent player.
And not a good human being, but
yeah, that's true as well. I just don't think that they will, just because he's been there that long. But now that's what's happened with Pujols, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, okay, so basically he's under contract until 2025.
Jesus, it's like a Bobby Bonilla deal.
Yeah, no. So right now it's 30 million this year, 32 million the next 2 years, and it's 30 million each year from in 2024 and 2025.
Mm-hmm.
So and this contract, and he's 38 right now.
Oh my god.
So
he'll be 43 when that's up.
Yeah, and that's why I was like asking questions like, do you think they cut bait? I don't think they cut bait because the Tigers aren't paying anyone else, and that's the other thing we got to keep in mind, because the the Angels are already paying Trout, they're already paying Rendon, and they're already paying Ohtani, they're already paying Pete. Detroit, they're not really competing. Like if you look at the standings right now, despite their pitching prospects, they're 8-22, I believe.
Mm. Yeah, they're
like that. Yeah, and so I wouldn't be shocked. I think you keep Miguel Cabrera at that contract, because you got to pay him anyway. Like that's what 40. That's like 125 mil they owe him for the next 4 years.
Yeah, you can't really DFA him with all that money left. You would look even more stupider than with the Albert Pujols thing.
Yeah, and then with the Orioles, I mean,
Chris Davis. Sorry, no one's gonna want Chris Davis as
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No one wants Chris Davis.
I know, and I've seen I think it was Trevor Plouffe. Like he was bringing up the idea of, well, why don't we bring Albert Pujols to the Orioles, because you could give him the vet minimum, have him be a role player, because the Angels are already paying like the rest of his salary. But then I thought about it, I was like, well, we already have our Albert Pujols situation. It's Chris Davis, and I mean technically he's on a 60-day DL, but do you really want to create a bigger logjam? I mean, once Chris Davis comes back, that's a massive logjam right there, just with him. Like, you want to add Pujols into that, because him, Mancini, Mountcastle, and Davis, they all played pretty much the same position. So I don't see how that would work. So I mean, that's something interesting. Now here's an interesting thought here. Now it's the Reds. The Reds said they're interested in Albert Pujols. What are your thoughts on that idea?
It's be a big slap in the face to the Cardinals fans right there if he went to the Reds, since I know they're big rivals. But I think it would make sense. The Reds aren't that good this year, right?
They're in that they're in that middle ground of they're not really competing. They're not a rebuilding team, but they're not really competing.
It's kind of what the Nationals are right now too. It makes sense, they're kind of if they want to go get him, just for like the vet minimum or something. But he should not have to sit out this season. Someone will pay him, and rightfully so. And still, I hope maybe the Cardinals.
We'll go to the Nationals, but what about the White Sox? Because they have La Russa.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense too. He managed him, so that would definitely make a lot of sense.
So, what are your thoughts? I know we haven't covered baseball in the last couple of weeks, but what are your thoughts on the Nationals last couple of weeks?
Yeah, so they were tied for first place for a little bit. They swept the Marlins, which was nice. The Braves come to town, and then things come back down to earth a little bit. They kind of get embarrassed at Nats Park. Yesterday, I think had one of the worst third strike calls I've ever seen in like the 15 years I've watched this sport.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
that was a joke. Maybe they tie the game, maybe they don't. But that would have loaded up the bases for Ryan Zimmerman. That was just the glove hit the dirt, and you're calling strike three. I'll always say this to D. I'm ready for robo umps. I'm tired of these people just messing these kind of calls up. It should not.
There should be like a sensor. There should be my idea is there should be like a sensor at the plate, like where like the edge of the plate is, and then there should be there should be like a square like that the umpire could see, and if you see a green square, it's a strike. If you see a red square, it's a ball. I mean that's like the easiest way to determine whether it's balls or.
I think so. I agree with that. The Nationals didn't play well in this series. They had a chance yesterday to steal one. Zimmerman hit a double in the bottom of the ninth, gets to second, then they get a runner to third with one out. One guy strikes out, Josh Harrison then flies out to end it. So I know the Braves aren't doing well this year either, but that was a series they had to have. They had it. And, I just guess this reinforces the idea that the Nationals are probably not going to make the playoffs this year as much as I think everyone wants them to, and that they might have to sell a little bit at the deadline. But it stinks that they got swept in the series because they did have – they had a lot of momentum going into that series. They've won 4 in a row. I mean, 5 of 6. They were actually playing their best baseball of the year. Then, you get a team that, it's your biggest rival, I think, in the NL East, and you just get embarrassed in pretty bad fashion. I know they're still a little bit banged up, but there's still kind of no excuse to get swept like that, especially in front of your home fans. Max Scherzer, if you want to trade him at the deadline, you can probably get a really nice package for him, but we'll see if that comes to fruition. I don't really know if the Lerner family wants to go down that road because they didn't do it with Bryce Harper a couple years ago when they had an offer for him. And, of course, they let him go for nothing when he went to the Phillies. So I'd be curious to see if they want to make that same kind of decision there. But, yeah, just they're obviously they're not out of it. It's still early, and they're only, a couple games out of first place. So there's still a lot of time.
Yeah.
I think they're only like 2 games out of first. Like that's how bad this division is this year. Eddie, they were literally alone in first place as soon as last Sunday. So, I mean.
You guys are in last place.
Oh, yeah. How many games back? Like 2 or 3?
2.5.
Is it? You said 2.5?
Yeah, 2.5.
There's still so much time. Like I said, they were in first place last week. A good series gets them back to probably within a game of first. So it's not – they're not out of it, but, they got to play a lot better baseball than what they did in the last few games.
Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, you're right on the division stuff because because like the National – because they're 12 and like right now they're Nationals are at 44% right now. I mean, Atlanta right now is 484. Yeah, 44. And
really struggled this year.
Yeah, and then I just want to bring but I want to bring up Atlanta's record right now. Atlanta has the same record as the Orioles do right now. Because Orioles are about like 15 and 16 now, and they're in last place. Like they're in last place in the American League East.
Yeah, that just goes to show how one division is a lot better than the other, even though they both honestly should not be that good. And I will say, congratulations, you got to see finally your first no-hitter, I think, in quite a long time.
Yeah, the combo, was individual no-hitter since last one for the Orioles was Jim Palmer in '69.
Wow, that's actually
And
ridiculous.
then I think there was in '91 there was like 4 pitchers combined for a no hitter.
Yeah, I
But
thought
yeah,
it was one in 2006. I thought someone said.
I don't think so. Maybe it was another team. I mean, maybe it was close, but no, they didn't have one. I mean, I believe no, we had one a few years ago. We had a guy throw 6 no-hit innings, but that didn't end up. You need 27 outs. I mean, yeah. So yeah, that's the big story here. John Means threw a no-hitter.
Yeah,
That is,
congratulations. You finally got to see one.
yep.
Someone who's seen his team have 3 or 4 no hitters over the last few years with Max Scherzer and Jordan Zimmerman. Should have had a perfect game. Fuck you, Jose Tabata.
Yeah.
But
I mean, speaking of that, this was like when you just read the stat hits. No, no, sorry. John Means gave up. First of all, let me say this about John Means. Out of the 27 batters he faced, 26 of them he threw first pitch strikes.
that's actually crazy.
Yeah, and then he had like when you look at the stat line, it's no hits, no walks, no errors, no hit by pitches. So you would think perfect game, but the problem here is there's this drop third strike call rule where
Uh,
so like John Means struck out Sam Haggerty on a pitch in the third inning. It went behind. It went
home
past
plate, and he didn't get it the first in time.
yeah, he didn't get it to first in time.
That
So
was a perfect game. That's so awful. I feel bad.
I mean, but here's the question though, and there's a few other things I want to bring up though with like the no hitter stuff this year, but I think that should be considered a no hitter. A perfect game. I don't personally care. John Means got the no hitter. We got to win. We got a series win. That's all I care about.
Yeah, that's really all you should care about. I mean, a perfect game is obviously even better, but you still got to see your first no hitter. Think for as long as you've been a fan. So
Yeah,
that right there.
yeah, and then some other stuff. Stats about John Means. John Means now in his through 7 starts. I mean, I think he's shown to be an ace. Like I think he's an ace. He's almost to that. He's one of the best pitchers in the American League. He's no hitters. It's always guys that you don't expect that's throwing it, right? Because you had Joe Musgrove with the Padres earlier this year. You had Carlos Rondon with the White Sox. He threw a no hitter. John Means threw a no hitter. Madison Bumgarner threw a 7-inning no hitter, but that was a part of a double header. So that's not unofficial. That's an unofficial no hitter. I don't know where you stand on that rule. Like if you have in that 7-inning doubleheader rule, and one of those guys throws a no hitter in one of those games, should that count as a no hitter?
I'm tempted to say yes. I think.
I mean, it's technically a complete game. It's just that the new rules say that you're playing 7 instead of 9.
Yeah, I feel like it should still be considered one, in my opinion.
But I mean, yeah, I mean, I think so too. But I want to go bring up this point about with John Means. Like, it's a great interest story because now people know who this guy is. And let me just tell you how good this guy has been recently. I mean, this isn't like a guy who's been bad. This is a guy that, frankly, was a year away from retiring. Like in 2018, like he actually had a LinkedIn page set up like for a career pass. And what happened was the Orioles called him up, put him in the bullpen. He had a couple outings in 2018, then redeveloped his changeup for 2019 with the new pitching coaches, and then he was put in the bullpen, got some more velocity, made some starts, made the All-Star game, by the way, was second in the Rookie of the Year voting in 2019, so that's still impressive. 2020 was a little rough for him. But last 4 starts, he didn't give up more than 1 run in any of those starts, and he struck out at least. There's a couple of those games where he struck out at least 10 batters. I mean, so he had a real strong end to 2020, and then now in 2021, in 7 starts, he has a 1.37 ERA.
That's ridiculous.
1.37 ERA, 30% strikeout rate, only 6% walk rate. In his last 7 starts. One start, he gave up 3 runs. Another start, he gave up 2 runs. The other 5 starts, 1 run or less.
Jesus.
I mean, you gotta remember when I said he might be developing as an ace. I mean, these are ace-like numbers he's putting up here.
Those are. You kidding me? That's ridiculous.
And look at the teams he's doing this against. Like, he's doing this against American League East and National League East. I mean, granted, some against the West, but
National League East, come on, man. Not the best division, but no, but still, that is, if he keeps that up, Cy Young contender maybe.
Oh no, yeah. But here's the other. But I mean, I think that he should definitely get consideration to start the All-Star game if he continues this.
Yeah, I did not. Know that's that good this year.
And then Cy Young, absolutely, he deserves some consideration. I'm not going to say that he should be the favorites. I mean, the numbers say he does, but then there's always some bias, like if the Orioles aren't any good,
yeah,
it'll like the tiebreakers, it'll probably go to like Garrett Cole or something, even though he's been great. But I mean, the Orioles have been good, and then the future has been bright because I was looking at some of their minor league season was starting, and their second best pitching prospect, DL Hall, he's a lefty who can throw 100 miles an hour, strikes out a ton of people. He does have control issues. Like, he had, I think it was 5 walks per 9 inning last year in his career, but he's also like 20 or 22 years old. Top 100 guy. He made his debut in Double-A. 4 and 1/3, 10 strikeouts.
Wow, Jesus.
But yeah, that was him. That was DL Hall. Grayson Rodriguez. Apparently, he's a year younger than DL Hall. He's a top 30 prospect. He made his high A debut. Apparently, he texted DL Hall after saying, "I threw 101 miles an hour." I don't know if that was the case. Maybe that was one pitch, but he had 5 strikeouts, 1 hit, 1 walk in about the same time, 4 1/3. I mean, I've seen a lot of people say John Means, like, well, what about the trade values? Like, I wouldn't trade John Means. Like, he's not a free agent until 2024. The Orioles should be good by then. I mean, John Means, Grayson Rodriguez, DL Hall, that's a really good 1, 2, and 3 to do with Strasburg, Scherzer, and Corbin.
Yeah.
And what the Dodgers were able to do with what they had. I mean, you need that strong pitching rotation. And even what the Orioles were doing in like the 70s and 80s and 90s, they had that strong pitching rotation. And I know they were good for the last 5-6 years, but you can tell like they were more lineup driven than rotation driven in that 2012 to 2016 span. And then you could tell because that was not a sustainable way to win. And you saw how badly that crashed in 2 years. So if you develop that system, and then even like some of these guys they have coming up, like Kyle Bradish, who you got from the Angels, I believe, in the Dylan Bundy trade, he followed up DL Hall's performance with like 4 2/3, 7 strikeouts.
Oh.
And he's like he might be like the 10th or 12th best pitching prospect the Orioles have right now.
Mm-hmm. So
imagine if you're 10th or 12th guys putting up those types of numbers, and you really need 7 guys. And by the way, John Means, and that's not including John Means. Like, John Means is already there. That pitching depth could be real good, real fast. And then you combine that with Adley Rutschman, Heston Kjerstad. Gunnar Henderson, a 19-year-old. He's a 19-year-old shortstop. He has had 2 opposite field home runs in 2 games. And Delmarva is like, that's not a small ballpark. So, like, you still have these prospects that are coming up. I mean, look for the Orioles to be good in a couple years with these guys they have. So, I mean, it's going to be really interesting. It's going to be really competitive. I mean, that American League East is going to be really competitive. Because when you have the Yankees and the Rays and what they can do, and Toronto with their free agent moves, and the Orioles with their homegrown talent, if the Orioles are good, if the Red Sox can be somewhat good, I mean, that is a buzzsaw of a division.
Oh yeah, it'll at least be good. Oh, now you get to the good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I talked a little bit about what are your thoughts as a Steelers fan about Villanueva?
I mean, it was a little better after I saw the media press conference where he was a coward. He has a lot of nerve to talk a lot of shit about the Steelers organization when, one, he was in Juju Smith-Schuster's TikTok, so it's like the hypocrisy there. 2, you were the Steelers' worst offensive lineman last year, and you were just a free pass for like anyone who wanted to come by and like go sack Ben. So I was just like, really? I mean, like, you're going to give a little bit of shade to the Steelers organization, yet you were also not good last year. Pot, meet, kettle a little bit, and don't be a hypocrite. It was funny how he was kind of like, like the run-based stuff. And I understand that the Steelers had to pass it a lot last year due to not having a running game and Randy Fichtner being a complete moron as an offensive coordinator. But like the dig about some of the stuff that I saw was not really the dig that I saw about some of the stuff, I did not think was very necessary, and I think kind of made him look like a baby. I saw some people of the Steelers media who are just so insufferable at times, like, well, the guy's like a 3-time Army like veteran or something. I'm like, okay, don't do this holier than thou thing about him being in the Army. It's great that he served this country, but it doesn't make him this like, oh wow, he's like so far above everyone. It's just like you can say he sucks while also saying he was in the Army. So, but good for him that he's there. I hope he does well. But the digs at Juju, while he was in
was
his
that a dig at Juju or no, also Claypool and
the digs at them, and he was in their TikToks and the digs at Big Ben and the other Steelers and stuff. It was like, dude, you were terrible on the line last year. I really would not be talking right now. But hey, people got to do what they got to do. That's just my opinion on it. It just was kind of stupid.
Yeah, no. So what I'll say is I wanted to hear your thoughts because you're a Steelers fan. You've seen Villanueva play. Now, I mean, from what I get, from my understanding, let me start by saying this: if you're getting a lineman this late, and look, I think that Orlando Brown, his ego really messed up that situation because he could have easily said behind closed doors, "I want to be a left tackle, trade me." He pretty much said half of that all of last year. I want to him wanting to be a left tackle, and then him kind of saying, "Oh, it's not about the money," but at the same time, when he himself said, "Oh, when Ronnie got his money, I knew that I couldn't play left tackle." It's like, come on, like everything you're saying, it's not about the money, but your actions are saying the opposite. So I guess we both have like former linemen that we're not high on. But with Villanueva, I mean, the point I want to bring up is if you're getting a tackle this late, it's because they're good at pass blocking or they're good at run blocking. You're not getting, unless it's a Charles Leno Jr. situation where he gets cut. You're not looking at a guy that can do both, right? So the way I would think about it is, I get the whole run blocking thing, but his effectiveness is going to be determined on 3 factors. I believe it's going to be determined on 3 factors. The differences in the run blocking scheme for Baltimore versus the one in Pittsburgh, and how that corresponds with what he can do. And now let's also keep in mind Orlando Brown, 6'8", 3-something. He relies a lot more on size. Villanueva can rely a lot more on size. So if Orlando Brown is good, maybe Villanueva is good. The second thing is Ben is not the most mobile guy. Lamar is. So Lamar can bail. Lamar has had a tendency the last couple of years to bail out his linemen. So,
I can also say that Big Ben shakes off sacks it's not as good as he used to.
That's true. So linemen in different ways. It's different ways. Like one is, I'm not going down without a fight, and the other one is, I'm gonna make you break your ankles. Pretty much. Like that's essentially what it is here. But if he makes your lineman better, I mean that definitely helps. I mean, we don't know that theory because you could present me with a compelling argument that having a guy with more mobility might expose a lineman's struggles. You could also give me the same another argument of whether it can actually help hide someone's struggles. So it really depends on the guy that you have. And since Lamar has only been a starting quarterback for 2 years, we don't have enough of a sample size to see where he is on that scale. So. And then the third one is the Ravens have Kevin Zeitler at right guard. They have Pat Ricard. They have Ben Mason now. They have Nick Boyle. Steelers have some good run blocking tight ends, and they have, I believe that you guys had a fullback last year with Derek Watt.
Well, did they use him? No, they didn't. But hopefully with the new offensive coordinator, they will. And I think they will. So the blocking scheme should be better.
Right.
And
But my point being was the Ravens do have a good personnel, and they got Greg Roman, who you could say a lot about in the passing game, but in the run game, he's really good. He's good in the run game, great, bad in passing game, and
Villanueva is a better run blocker than he is a pass blocker. I'll say that.
yeah. So, and I heard the opposite. I heard that he wasn't a good run blocker. I mean, maybe it was just more recent years.
Yeah, last season his pass blocking was bad. It was probably the worst I've ever seen it, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I think part of that might have been like Ben Roethlisberger was throwing 600 times, and again, part of it is on the O line because you can't develop a run game. But there were also 4 other guys. So was Pouncey did Pouncey have his worst run blocking season? Did or blocking season? Did not Banner? What's the dude's name that he drafted? Dotson.
He was good. He was actually a standout on that line. He's gonna start again this year. He was probably one of their better linemen, to be honest.
Yeah. So, but
went back a little bit, but he was also hurt, and he's getting older now.
Yeah, but my point being is you could say Villanueva could have been the worst lineman, but if all of those 5 guys or the majority of them weren't good, then you can't really put all the blame on Villanueva. And then it all comes down to this: he's not a long-term solution. He's there because Orlando Brown threw a hissy fit about him wanting to play left tackle. Like, I'm sorry, like that's basically what he did. Like, he threw a hissy fit, and then he's being a little hypocritical about the stuff, and then he put it out in public, and the Ravens couldn't get a bigger trade package because they knew that there was a chance. Other teams knew there was a chance that he would have sat out, and so the Ravens had to trade him. Look, I'm happy with what they got, and when we recap the draft, we can kind of go more into that. But they were put in a no-win situation where it was either him or it was either Villanueva or Dennis Kelly, who is a good run blocker but a bad pass blocker. You had what's the dude's name? Mitchell Schwartz, who's coming back from injury, and Rick Wagner, who's considering retirement. I mean, it's not like the mark bearing for Phil weren't there. And then you also had the Broncos tackle go down, and then you got to imagine that the Broncos tackle situation might have been more appealing. So that was the thing,
especially with Mike Munchak there. Just so
that's the point I was gonna bring. Like if the Ravens didn't have that meeting before the draft, which by the way, you guys don't have a 5th round comp pick because the Ravens actually didn't sign him earlier. Now we don't know how close they were. They may have said, first meeting was, okay, let's make sure your physicals are good. Let's make sure you're a good fit. Then we can talk about this contract. So I don't think it's like collusion or anything else. I've seen some Pittsburgh YouTubers bring up the point that, well, should this be looked into? No, I think that the Ravens, no, like they went through all of the paperwork they needed to do for it to happen. But yeah, I mean that tackle situation is real tricky, and if you mess it up, it makes your quarterback, it makes it a bad nightmare. But I mean, this is probably the most intimidating, one of the more intimidating offensive lines in football, with Stanley and and the rookie Ben Cleveland being around 6'6" and over 330 pounds on the left side, and then Bozeman 6'5", 325, and Zeitler 6'4", 315. And Villanueva 6'9", 320. I mean
they're big boys.
And by the way, not just that, you got Ricard who's 6'3", pushing 3. Boyle who's 6'4", 250. You got Ben Mason 6'2", 250. I mean, and even some of these guys like Bredesen, like they're your 3rd string guard, 6'4", 315. So like some of these backup guards will add more beef to that O line on those run plays. So I like Sam Cook, but if it's like 4th and short, I'm giving the ball to Gus Edwards. I'm having him running behind the O lineman. I'm bringing in a guy like Pat Ricard. I'm going full jumbo package. I'm saying, bring your strongest guys. Here's our strongest guys. We just need 1 or 2 yards, and we'll see who wins. Yeah. I mean, so, and it just goes right.
I'm just excited for TJ Watt to go up against Alejandro.
So
and see how that goes.
Yeah. So, yep. So let's just recap the Steelers and Ravens draft. Like, what were your thoughts on the overall draft?
Steelers, I think, was fine. You know, Pat Freiermuth, I warmed up to it. You know, they're finally investing in the position for the first time in quite a while. They're hopefully that he's going to be their next Heath Miller. Eric Ebron's going to move on after this year. Now they're on the tight ends, and he can actually block. So that's big here too. No, but they got the center. He was so excited to come to. I don't know if you saw his reaction, but he was really excited. He's probably going to, I think, be the starter. They traded up for that guy like late 5th round. People thought he was an undrafted player, but I think he'll be fine. I don't think he's going to start or anything. Quincy Roche, I think, is going to be one of the more underrated picks from Miami. I could see him being the outside linebacker number 3 behind Watt and Highsmith for next season. People, I think, had him as like a 4th round grade.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that punter. That is a big boy.
Who do you think is stronger, him or the dude from Miami?
I don't know. That's like a good question. But he's a tank. I think he might win the punting job from Jordan Berry this year. He has a nice leg. Needs to work on his hang time a little bit. But he also can throw fake punt passes from what I saw as well. So, but overall, I'd probably give this trade like a solid B to B minus for the Steelers. I mean, they filled as many holes as they could, but there's still, a gaping need, especially at cornerback. I think the offensive line, we'll see what they do. They're investing a lot into Banner and Okorafor, which is risky. They're going to hope that they're smarter than everyone else who's talking about it, which, it's fine. They're the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I can say I'm not still a little bit concerned about the line. But Najee's going to be good. I'm fine they didn't draft a receiver or anything. And this is the first time that their first 4 picks were the offensive side of the ball in over 30 years. So just goes to show how many holes were on that side of the unit. But overall, I'm fine with it. I think this should be a good draft class.
Yeah, so I think with the Ravens, I like the draft class. My grade right now for it is a B, but it could go to an A. But for me, the reason why I would say B minus, is only because there's a lot of projection with these guys, and there's a lot of corresponding moves that they clearly thought of while making these picks. Like, let's just finish up the O-line thing. I mean, Ben Cleveland, that's my favorite pick. I think that this is a guy that he's the most NFL ready. The guy's 6'6", 350, and he's probably going to be your left guard. He's probably going to be our left guard.
Yeah, that's a 10.
So, yeah, and there's a great story with him. Like, did you hear how he got the nickname Big Country?
No.
So basically, this is probably this is you hear. So the way he got that nickname was when he was younger. This when he was like 14ish or 14, 15, around that age. He came back home, like, when he plays sick. So he came back home, and then he was hungry. They had no food. He sees 2 squirrels outside. Shoots the squirrels. Cooks it in a grill. And that's his food. On a whim. And then I think I heard another story about how this guy I'm gonna just I'm not gonna put out the picture, but
if you look at the center the Steelers drafted, looks exactly like Marquise Pouncey. I think he's a cloned brother of him or something.
Yeah,
you have to look him up. They look exactly alike.
Yeah, no. And then the other thing I'm gonna show a picture of him when this guy was 14 years. When this guy was 14. Let me see if I could find a picture of him when he was 14 years old. But okay, so hold on. But there's this great story. Like, he was actually at a baseball 14 under baseball tournament, and he had to. I'm not kidding. He had to. The share screen. Yeah, share. Yeah. Okay. He had to prove that he had to bring his birth certificate to prove he was 14 or under.
Jeez.
Do you see that picture?
Oh my God! Good Lord! He looks like he's 20.
That's him at 14 years old.
Oh, that's like ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's our left guard. So that's why I'm excited to see about him. Like I said, Bozeman's probably going to move to center because that's where he played in Alabama, and that's the cheapest way to improve that center position. Tristan Colon Castillo is probably going to be your backup guy, be the backup guy. And then obviously they didn't take a tackle, but that they probably were confident that they were going to get Villanueva, and then Tyree Phillips, the other guy on the line, nicknamed Big Country. He's going to be the backup tackle. And it's also interesting that Harbaugh, Eric DeCosta mentioned that Tyree Phillips and Ben Cleveland were both Harbaugh guys, and they both had the nickname Big Country. So it's gonna be really interesting. Like,
Yeah.
So if there's anyone in next year's draft class that has that same nickname, that's probably a Harbaugh guy. So
Exactly.
yeah, so and then they got Ben Mason. Speaking of Harbaugh guys, Ben Mason, a tight end / fullback, who's 6'2", 250. I mean, don't care about that one. And I think O-line was probably one of their bigger needs, especially in the interior, and they fixed it. But I think the theme of this draft for the Ravens was addressing their needs, but addressing it in a way that that answers other questions. Like, you got Ben Cleveland. No, because it's like, oh, we need to fix the center position. Let's move Bozeman to center. But if we move Bozeman to center, what are we going to do about the guard, right, in the depth position? So we're going to go draft Ben Cleveland. He's going to be the left guard. Bozeman's going to be our center. Ben Powers and Ben Bredesen again. Why they keep in that third, fourth round? Why they keep going after linemen with the name Ben something?
Funny.
Yeah. Well, I don't understand that one, but those two, Ben Powers and Ben Bredesen, they're going to be backing up Zeitler and Cleveland most likely. And then I think they answered questions about the tackle by saying Tyree Phillips, you're our backup tackle, because he could play tackle and guard. So they basically said, here, you're gonna be our backup tackle, and then Villanueva's there. And then not to mention the Ben Mason pick, and then the two edge rushers, Odafe Away, because he doesn't go by Jason anymore, he's the name. Odafe Away and Dalen Hayes. Odafe is, I think we kind of covered it last week.
Yeah, you said it's a high risk, high reward, I think is how you said it.
Yeah, high risk, high reward. He's good against everything except he's not great against when it comes to pass rushing. But then again, maybe and I guess the whole 0 sacks could have been partly attributed to the fact that Michael Parsons opted out. So who knows? Like, maybe if he was there, Owe could have gotten 1 or 2 sacks here or there. But if he can develop some pass rushing moves and obviously the Ravens met with Justin Houston. There's still Ryan Kerrigan. There's still Melvin Ingram. So they could bring a vet pass rusher and really fortify that edge rusher, because you lost Ward, you lost Ngakwe, you lost him. Now you need a pass rusher to replace that third one. And then the receivers, I was really impressed with what they did. They basically let Keith Williams and T. Martin pick those receivers, essentially, with Rashad Bateman and Tylan Wallace. I mean, now no one can argue that the Ravens haven't done a lot to help Lamar, because they drafted 6 receivers in the last 2 years.
Yeah, let's see if it works now is the big thing.
And then and they got Watkins as well. I mean, Boykins or Prochet. I mean, I understand he's a good blocking receiver, but Prochet you just drafted last year. Duvernay you're going to keep. Hollywood you're obviously going to keep. Tylan Wallace and Rashad Bateman you're going to keep. You signed Sammy Watkins. I mean, it'll be really interesting to see which receiver they don't keep. I mean, maybe Miles Boykin can put on 15 pounds and become a tight end. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I like what they do in the receiving room, and they just need that passing game to evolve. Like, that's the thing. Like, they need that passing game to evolve, and maybe
you're not going to win a Super Bowl unless you have at least a decent passing game. That's just now.
Yeah, and we have the great, like, our run game's really good. Our run game, it's really good. And we've done a good job of having these 3-4 minute, 5-minute drives, which kind of limit the amount of drives the other team has. Now, if we can have a ball control passing offense to go with that ball control rushing offense, where we run the ball so many times, but we can use that to build off the pass. We can use that to expand the passing game. But at the same time, if the run game slows down, can we revive the run game, and then that kind of goes back and forth. And if we can start having if the Ravens can start having these 5, 6, 7-minute drives, imagine how demoralizing that is to the other team, because now it's, well, what would you say? Like, each team typically would get 10 drives per game?
8 to 10.
So, but if teams like the Ravens and the Titans and the 49ers, like, with these great run games, if they can start having these longer drives, you got to imagine the other team's going to have 6 to 8 like 6 to 8 drives, and you got to imagine like, and now what the Ravens did a good job of is they're building their offense to have these extended plays, but it's going to be we're going to basically tire you out, and then fourth quarter, and then it's going to be that 50-yard pass to Hollywood, right? They're going to have that offense, but at the same time, we got the defense that we feel confident in stopping the other team's offense. So it's sort of like we have a 5-6 minute drive that lead to points. Then our defense, we're going to force you to go on 3 and out on a punt, and then we're going to have the ball go 5-6 minutes, get more points, and then over time, those margins just keep going up, and that just expands the Ravens' offense. And it's really interesting to see how that works. I mean, so I thought they did a good job. A lot of sometimes curious, like as a Steelers fan, like which pick of the Ravens did you hate the most as a Steelers fan?
Probably Bateman because I liked him coming out. Hey, no toy because we're almost over. Stop with the squeakies. We have like 2 minutes left or something.
Yeah.
Bateman, I think, he was a receiver that I really liked. And, I actually think that might be your first good receiver pick that will work out in quite a while.
So, I mean, we'll see about Hollywood.
Yeah, I mean, I have him too. Yeah, but in a lot of recent years, Bateman would be, I think, a really good one.
Yeah, and I think I texted you like this. I texted you like the morning of day 3. It was like, if he's there 131, I really like Tyler Miles because of the physical nature that he plays. He reminds me a lot of Bolden making those catches, and if he's like your 5th or 6th receiver, you got a good receiving room. I mean, So I think Greg Roman, all the pressure is on him. Like the Ravens have given him every tool he needs to succeed and more. If he can't do anything about this, then he needs to go.
Yeah.
I mean, and then on my end, I wasn't a fan of. I'll say the Roche pick.
I think he's going to be very underrated as a backup. And maybe you won't want to face Najee Harris twice a year because I think he's going to be really good.
I mean, we did hold Derrick Henry to 40 yards.
That's true. Yeah, you did.
And we did get away. We did get Odafe away, who's good against the run. And I mean, I was considering Freiermuth, but the reason why I chose not to was because Owe is good against tight ends. Like I think that his size, like he could chase down. Like he's pretty much I think the reason they got him was because the Chiefs have Kelsey. Like the Chiefs have Kelsey. The Patriots have their tight ends. I think Eric DeCosta was like thinking about these matchups. There's certain matchups he keeps in mind. So it's definitely interesting to see. And then I think undrafted guys were and then we'll end the show on this. Were there any undrafted guys from Steelers that you liked?
Yeah, it's that what's that cornerback from Michigan? Oh, Shakir Brown. People had him as like mocked it in like the 4th or 3rd round or something when he was undrafted.
I'll say 5th, yeah.
People said like 4th or 5th round. I feel like that might be a very underrated sign. I think he's gonna make the team out of camp. I really do. I like that one.
Yeah, I think with the Ravens, I think there were 2 or 3 guys that are good. I mean, maybe he makes the team, maybe he doesn't. I mean, we're like 6, 7, 8 players deep at tight end. Because you got to keep in mind Josh Oliver. We traded conditional 7s for Josh Oliver. Then we had Adrian Eli, and it's pretty interesting because we took Orlando Brown, who was a tackle from Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
And so his replacement might eventually be the guy that replaced him at Oklahoma. So that could be an interesting thing. I mean, he needs 1 or 2 years to develop, but he could be solid. Then the other one, I think the guy that I think will make the team is Ardarius Washington, like the safety from TCU. It was like who was mocked, I believe, 3rd round. He's a do-it-all safety. I guess he dropped because he's not the fastest guy, and he's like 5'8".
Yeah.
So I mean, but I was hearing a lot about him before drafts. Like, how did this guy not get drafted? But no, Ravens got him. He's a good free safety. I think that you could definitely, even with the Stevens, like the Brandon Stevens pick, and Deshaun Wade pick, who's probably going to replace Tavon Young because Tavon Young gets hurt so much, and Marlon Humphrey. I don't want him on the slot, not because he can't do it, but because we need to put someone else on the outside. And what happened in the Browns game when you take away someone from the outside and see what Baker just poor Devontae Harris. Like Devontae Harris was just abused in that game. So getting a guy like Sean Wade, who was a condition, like wasn't Sean Wade like 6 months ago, like, oh, this is a day 2 pick, day 1 pick.
Yeah,
that like Clemson, like one of the reasons why Clemson won that national championship game a couple years ago was because Sean Wade was like ejected for targeting or something like that. So I would say, so getting him in fact 5th round could be kind of a steal. And the show there. Thank you all for listening, and we'll come back next week at 2 p.m. We'll basically, talk more baseball, talk more football.
Yeah, and hopefully some V team news as well. Yeah, that'll do it. Thank you all so much for listening.
Thanks. Yeah. And broadcast.